have guessed, it's another phone release and another, oh my god, the leakers got it 100% correct. So let's take a look at the S8, but more importantly, let's take a look at why I won't be buying one. So let's talk S8 before we talk S8 Plus. The S8 has a 5.8 inch screen, which though sounds massive, it's in the same size body, give or take, as the S7 Edge, which means you're just getting more screen with less bezel. And on the subject of less bezel, take a look at it. Isn't it gorgeous? That display is 1440 by 2960, making it more or less a 2:1 aspect ratio, with the intention, much like the G6, being that you can do a lot of multitasking. As well as that, it being AMOLED means that it looks gorgeous. On the inside, you'll see an Exynos 8895 or a Snapdragon 935 depending on your region, and that is confirmation for you that Samsung snatched up the initial batch that LG were hoping for when they released the G6. You also get 4GB of RAM, 64GB of storage, and no home button. Instead, the fingerprint sensors on the back where the heart rate sensor used to be, and the heart rate sensor has been moved over to the other side because that's not at all confusing, and you have the soft buttons. Now the soft buttons I can kind of forgive, I prefer having a physical home button, but whatever, I'll get over it. The one thing that annoys me is the placement of that fingerprint sensor. The fingerprint sensor is placed right here, right where my current heart rate monitor is, and if I put my finger over it, you'll see that I kind of catch a bit of the camera lens as well. Now if you think about it, no one's ever perfectly accurate, so if I go to try and press it, there we are. That took like, what, 3 taps? And at least one time I hit square on the camera, which doesn't bode well and just sounds like you're just going to have a really smudgy rear camera. The consolation for me is I'm left-handed, so that's less of a problem, because I'll end up drifting to the left as opposed to the right, which is where the camera is, but it is still a problem for most people. And quite bizarrely, on the inside, the battery is actually a little bit smaller, which is, bizarre to say the least. Good news for people who like using headphones though, as it still has a headphone jack. Good job guys, and they show that you can have port unity. You can have USB Type-C and a headphone jack. You don't have to force people over to one at the same time. They can choose, you can slowly phase one out. However, Samsung seem to have taken this choice as a good idea a little bit too far, as the other day they announced Bixby, which is in the S8/S8 Plus, because, we don't already have enough voice assistants. So in the S7, we currently have S-Voice and Google Assistant competing, whereas with the S8, you'll have Bixby and Google Assistant competing, because it's not like you only want one consistent experience, right? What is cool though is that fingerprint sensor issue might not be much of an issue, because they took some tech from the Note 7 and put in an iris scanner. This works very much in the vein of Microsoft Hello, but is a bit more up close, and I talked about it when I talked about the S7 announcement, so you can go check that out in the link in the description. But it's cool, it scans your eye and lets you in because of that. Also, quick note, since I mentioned the Note 7, they're bringing that back in, just refurbished, and I'm not sure how I feel about that, and I'm not sure how flight attendants will feel about that. We'll have to wait and see. The rear camera is 12 megapixels and the front camera is 8 megapixels, but anyone who knows anything about cameras know that megapixel count doesn't matter, and it's all about real life footage, and with the S7 having such a great camera, the S8 will be top notch. Oh, and also, did I mention it functions as a computer? You can buy a stand, but once you put your phone in, works kinda like that phone that... who was it? HP! HP made the Elite X3, and that also has a dock, so when you dock it, it becomes a full Windows PC, and when you undock it, it's a Windows phone, which was kind of cool and utilised Continuum really well. Thanks to the magic that is currency fluctuations, the S8 will cost £800 and the S8 Plus will cost £900, with a refreshed Gear VR costing £129, and the stand thing costing £150, and the revamped Gear 360 costing £230. Interestingly, the biggest advantage this has over an iPhone is that the new iPhone Special Super Mega Edition is said to cost roughly £1,000, which isn't an insignificant difference, but we'll have to wait and see. And finally, why I won't be buying one. This as a phone is the best phone I've ever owned, but as a customer service experience has probably been the worst. When I had an issue with the camera, I sent it into Samsung, and Samsung were like, oh my god, we can't fix this, and they then changed the camera but claimed they didn't, and you could tell because the camera worked all of a sudden, except the battery then had a puncture in it, and you can follow like how that panned out. There's a link in the description to the playlist. It was like over the course of like 4 or 5 videos, but it was just crazy. That means that as much as I want to be on the cutting edge with Samsung, and this is genuinely the best phone I've ever owned, it's just a shame that they're massive corporate douchebags and I'm going to have to go elsewhere. Right now I'm thinking either the LG G6 or the Honor are announcing a phone next week, and I am extremely excited for that. I really hope that phone is good because, you know, there's something about Honor. I know the people who work there, or at least a few of them, and I feel like if I had an issue with an Honor phone, they wouldn't hide behind, oh, our engineers said so. And I feel like I could have like a proper conversation with them, and if I had issues, they'd actually work to get them fixed. Also, if you work at Honor, or you have a spare ticket to the Honor unveiling thingamadoodad next week, please let me come, because that'd be great. Yeah! However, that is it for this video. It seems remarkable how the phone has been more or less the same over the last 3 years, much like the last 3 iPhones, and it seems that we've gotten to this point where a lot of things are plateauing and people are trying to find the next big thing outside of reducing bezel, and we're seeing where we can push it. It's not easy, but we have phone companies trying to find the next super duper awesome cutting edge feature, from wireless audio to lightning audio to iris scanners to lack of a bezel, and what will actually stick? I guess we'll find out soon. If you like this video, make sure to click like. If you didn't, I'm not quite sure what you're doing here. However, there is good news. You can click here to see the previous video, and that might be more to your taste. You can click here to see a random video. It's what YouTube thinks you'll like most, so you have to love it. And then if either of these are what you like, click here to subscribe, because maybe you'll like one of our future videos more than you like this one. Definitely subscribe, whether it's there or down there, to see more videos like this one, and I'll see you guys next time.